Hey everybody, it's Lisa with Quilting in the Valley. So we're going to talk a little bit about maintaining your sewing machine. No matter what kind of sewing machine you have, the more you take care of it, the less you'll spend at the repair shop. So one of the first things that you can do is on your thread that goes through, right, your thread path and it comes down into here, how many of you cut it here and then just whip it back out the other side? Don't do that. When you're going to take your thread out, cut it here, pull it through, remove your spool. Never pull your thread backwards through this whole area here because your tension discs are inside here. And the more fuzz and yucky you get back inside your tension discs, the less you're going to have control over your tension and the more problems you're going to have because there's stuff up in there when it's trying to keep your tension. Another thing that you can do on a daily basis, this is your throat plate. Pop your throat plate off and get in here and clean all of this out. So you'll get stuff thick as felt down in here, just lint and yucky stuff. And if you keep that cleaned out, it'll keep your feed dogs working well. We've seen machines that had so much stuff underneath the feed dogs that it was actually felted under there and the feed dogs couldn't retract, which meant they weren't feeding the fabric properly. So clean that regularly. Nice soft brush will do it. Another thing that you can do, we just had a machine come in this week with a problem. This right here, here's your flywheel. If you have a spool of thread up here, maybe on your auxiliary thread spool, and it has a piece of thread hanging down and it gets caught up in there, you can wind virtually a whole spool of thread underneath your flywheel and it causes all kinds of problems. So never leave thread hanging anywhere near your flywheel. Another thing you can do, this is a front load bobbin. A lot of you are going to have top load bobbins. Whatever you have, clean this area out. Do not use moisture. When I say don't use moisture, I mean don't use canned air. Canned air, the propellant is moist and you're blowing that moisture in and you're shoving all that dirt further into your machine. All that felted stuff and the yuck is getting shoved further into your machine and that will just be left there for your repair guy to clean out. Additionally, if you have any metalworking parts, that moisture from that canned air can cause rust. So don't do that. You want to suck stuff out. Get a little bitty vacuum. You can get micro vac attachments. They're relatively inexpensive, maybe 15, 20 bucks. They go on your regular vacuum and then you can just suck all that stuff out of there, either on the top or in the bottom, but don't use the canned air. If you have a machine that needs to be oiled, make sure you do oil with the frequency that the manufacturer recommends. We want to oil every 8 hours of sewing for a Bernina. Another thing you want to think about, and we hear this a lot, is, oh, my machine doesn't like this kind of thread or that kind of thread. Your machine does not care what kind of thread you have in it. What your machine cares is that you have the right needle that fits the thread you're using size-wise, and that is suitable for the purpose that you're using the needle for. So if you're working with, say, denim fabric and you're using a very fine needle with thread that's too thick for it, you're going to have thread breakage. You're going to have skip stitches. If you're using a needle that is way too big for the thread you're using, you're going to have skip stitches and tension problems. So just make sure that you get some resources. There are resources everywhere that tell you what type of needle you should use for what type of technique and what type of thread is best for that. If you match those things, that solves all of those trouble, and then your machine is happy with whatever thread you put in it. Clean it, clean it, clean it. Take care of it. These computerized machines, don't ever leave them in real cold conditions and then start them up as soon as you get them inside the house. Winter's coming. Make sure you keep them in a relatively warm situation when they're traveling. If you can't do that, let them warm up to room temperature before you turn them on. All right, we'll see you next time.